The history of sugar beet farming in the North Platte Valley began as early as 1902. Early farmers used horses to level the land and prepare the soil for planting. Later on, a combination of horse-drawn equipment and modern tractors were used during planting season. Although the methods of sugar beet farming have changed dramatically, the time-honored process continues today. The Scottsbluff Sugar Factory, built in 1910, was the beginning of a relationship that has evolved into a grower-owned cooperative. Western Sugar Cooperative was established in 2002. Shareholder agreements are the first step in sugar beet production and are completed between January and March of each year. Information such as the name of the entity supplying the beets, legal land descriptions, and the number of acres to be dedicated are entered into a computer. The number of acres equal the number of shares of the cooperative that the grower will own. This information, along with seed variety, herbicide, and pesticides used, is entered as well. Additional information is gathered and entered throughout the growing season. Although actual planting does not take place until late March, there are a number of things that both grower and Western Sugar do to maximize the sugar beet crop. Farming practices today rely on information that has been gathered from soil testing. Soil samples are taken in the fall or spring. Sugar beet roots can be as deep as 6 feet in length. This emphasizes the need for deep soil sampling of at least 4 feet. These samples are sent to a lab for nutrient analysis and nematode cyst counts. The data from this analysis can help the grower and the Western Sugar agriculturalist determine the type and amount of fertilizers necessary to maximize the beet crop. Soil testing for potential disease and insect pressure is also important. The University of Nebraska performs soil analysis on a wide spectrum of sugar beet diseases. These tests are performed in the lab and greenhouses. Seed that is resistant to specific diseases and insects is now available. One of the most important pieces of machinery the farmer owns is the planter. There are several types of planters in use and all are subject to wear. If the planter is not operating properly, it can have a negative impact on yields in the fall, reducing tonnage and sugar production. Each spring, growers can bring their planter units in to have them tested for planting accuracy and ensure they are working properly. Just as in the past, the soil must be prepared for the seed bed. Methods vary from grower to grower. The conventional method involves plowing and packing the soil. During this time, nematicide may be needed to control nematodes, a parasite that attaches to the root hairs. If this step is necessary, plowing is required to apply that pesticide. Other methods of soil preparation include bedding and minimum tillage practices. Newer equipment on the market allows for minimum plowing, reducing fuel costs and preserving soil moisture. Early sugar beet growers relied on the natural manure fertilizers, and application required extensive time and effort. Today's fertilizers are much improved and require less manpower and a different type of horsepower. Nitrogen and phosphorus are the two main fertilizers used in beet production in the Intermountain area. Both come in liquid or dry form. Sufficient nitrogen in the soil is necessary for optimum tonnage. On the other hand, too much will result in excellent tonnage but very low sugar content. Soil testing is crucial in producing high yields in both tonnage and sugar content. Another example of the advances made in science of farming is the seed varieties that have been developed for this area. Western growers have about 30 different varieties of beet seed to choose from. The varieties are available to growers from 4 separate seed companies. Approximately 1/3 of the varieties are specialty types. This means the beets are resistant to specific diseases. All of the varieties are available in different sizes. Growers can buy bare seed or seed with a buildup on it to form a pellet, which also is available in different sizes. Sugar beet planting begins in late March and is usually finished by late April. Beet seed is placed 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch in the soil. Rows are 22 or 30 inches wide. Seeds are spaced from 4 to 6 inches apart depending on the row width. Proper seed placement is crucial to plant growth and development potential. Beet seedlings begin to emerge from the soil approximately 10 days to 2 weeks after planting. The timing may vary depending upon soil moisture and temperature. Seedlings are very delicate at this stage, and only 60 to 80% will survive. The carefully prepared soil seed bed is also a perfect environment for weed seedlings. Weeds compete with sugar beets for moisture, nutrients, and sunlight that are vital for healthy growth and development. Herbicides must be applied to the beet field to assure that crop production is optimal. Most herbicides are used to control weeds growing near the beets, and there are several types of herbicides labeled for sugar beets. Pre-plant herbicides are used prior to beet seedlings emerging. Pre-plant herbicides can be applied broadcast or in a band over the row while planting the crop. As soon as the beets begin to emerge and weeds appear, post-emergent spraying begins. Timing is crucial at this stage to achieve good weed control. In addition to herbicides, cultivation is another integral weed control tool. This is performed during May and June in this area. Cultivation is also beneficial to plant growth and can alleviate some disease problems in the plants during early season development. Cultivation is also used to incorporate fertilizer, insecticides, and herbicides. New studies suggest that as better weed control chemicals are developed, cultivation may not be necessary. Hand labor has been used for many years for thinning and weeding the sugar beet crop. Currently, hand labor is used mainly for late season weeds that have escaped spraying. There are still some growers who use this method along with limited amounts of herbicides. Sugar beet growers began to use mechanical thinning in the 1970s as a way to reduce costs. Mechanized thinning has been developed through trial and error over the years. Today, the most popular method of mechanical thinning is done with a Pickett beet thinner. Thinning beets is necessary in some fields to achieve optimal plant stands. This allows a proper root growth essential to maximize yields. Following cultivation in mid to late June, growers on flood-irrigated ground must ditch the beets for furrow irrigation. This gives a life-giving water a small ditch to follow through the field. Growers must make a large enough furrow for the water and at the same time avoid pushing dirt onto the crowns of the beets. Excess dirt in the beet crown can cause disease problems. Irrigation is essential for growing sugar beets. Annual rainfall provides only 10 to 14 inches of moisture. Irrigation must supplement the crop. Water is supplied through an irrigation system that has been in place since 1897. Larger federal irrigation canals were built around 1925. Mountain runoff provides the water to rivers and reservoirs many miles upstream. Historically, flood or furrow irrigation drawn from canals and laterals, along with the use of siphon tubes, are used to provide water to each field. In recent years, many growers have moved to irrigating with much more costly but efficient center pivots. Irrigation season normally begins from mid-June to the first week of July and ends mid to late September. During a dry spring, irrigation may be needed for germination in April and May. mid to late summer, agriculturalists scout fields for two widespread leaf diseases in this area: Cercospora leaf spot and powdery mildew. Fungicides are applied to control these diseases. Aerial application is the most common method for the application of fungicides used to control these diseases. Cercospora leaf spot is a disease in sugar beets that can have a major impact on all growing regions. It starts as early as the 1st of July and can run into late September depending on environmental conditions. Cercospora is a fungus that produces spores that attack beet leaves. The disease thrives in high humidity and high temperatures, producing lesions that over a few weeks can totally devastate the leaves. Temperature and humidity monitors aid in identifying this problem, and timely intervention with fungicides can prevent the field from getting the disease. Powdery mildew, which is also a fungus, first appears as a small radiating white mass of mycelium growing on the surface of the leaves. This growth eventually inhibits photosynthesis within the plant. As the growing season progresses, the sugar beet roots develop. Western Sugar will monitor the development of the crop. Root sampling is done 3 times during the season: mid-July, then the first and last weeks of August. Agriculturalists will do 1 random sample for every 300 acres, digging 10 feet per row per sample. They remove the leaves and bag the roots. This provides 10 to 30 pounds of beet material, which is sent to the central tare house for weight and sugar analysis. This data is compared with previous year's sampling results to measure the progress both in tonnage and sugar content. The advances in science and equipment have given today's farmers an advantage over their predecessors. State-of-the-art testing, fungicides, herbicides, pesticides, and beet seed varieties, along with irrigation practices and new developments in machinery, have made it possible for growers to predict and optimize the production of sugar beets. These advances are in sharp contrast to the farming practices from the early 1900s. Just as farming has changed, so has the ownership of the sugar company. The Western Sugar Cooperative, which is now grower-owned, has become not only an important economic factor for the grower, but also for the community. Many things have changed for the modern farmer, except for the end result, sugar.